It's time for this bike to start looking a little more like an actual bike. So today we'll be installing the headset, fork, stem, and bars. I greased the headset cups themselves as well as the frame, and then it was time to start pressing. I'm using the Park Tool Press Fit bottom bracket installer, which isn't the best possible tool for this job, but it'll work fine if you're careful. If you want to use the right tool, they do make dedicated headset presses, but I already had this and I didn't want to buy another expensive tool, so this'll work. The cardboard on one side is just to prevent it from scratching the frame. Pressing the cups in is really quite straightforward. If you're not using a specialized headset press, you'll want to keep an eye out to make sure they're going in evenly, but I had no issues at all. Next, it's time to install the crown race on the fork. There's an expensive, specialized tool for this as well, but I'm gonna go the cheap DIY route and just build a crown race tool out of 1.5-inch PVC. I just bought a small piece at Home Depot, sawed it down, and put a cap on the end. Then I greased up the fork, dropped on the crown race, and started the install. All I'm doing is banging on the top of the PVC tool I just built with a mallet. The only tricky part here is that you can't just hammer your fork into the floor, as that will damage the bottom of the fork. So I've got my wife here holding the fork to give me something to hammer against. And it's on, I think. It's not super easy to tell whether it's on all the way, but it seems to be down as far as it'll go, so we'll call it good. Next, I'm going to install the fork. So I'm dropping the lower bearing onto the fork, putting the upper bearing into the bearing cup, and then pushing the fork up through the headset and sliding the top piece of the headset down on top. To hold all this in place, you need a stem. So I'm sliding on some spacers and this sick DMR Deft stem that took a million years to get here from the UK. Once that's set, the next step would generally be to cut your fork to the size you'd like and install the star nut. But my fork is already cut and I've got something else in mind instead of a star nut. You may recall that this used fork came with the frame. Well, it also came threaded for the 1-Up EDC tool, so I figured I might as well install one of those. That means there's no star nut. Instead, there's a plastic piece that you pop into the bottom of the fork and a threaded cap you screw down into the top. The tool then slides right into that. It was really quite easy to install, especially since I got to skip the step of actually having to cut the threads. The last step for today will be to put the bars on so that I can put on the dropper lever, brakes, etc. in future videos. Note that I haven't torqued the stem down at all, and it's probably not even on straight. I'm going to torque everything properly once the bike is closer to ready so that I can sit on it and adjust everything to my liking. The next step is probably going to be installing the bottom bracket, cranks, and chainring, but I'm waiting on a special tool for that, and more on that later. So until then, I hope you get a chance to get outside and ride, and I'll see you in the next one.